Whee! What a morning it has already been for content, and what a morning it is going to continue to be. I was up at 5 a.m. this morning to feature on the Echoes of New Eden podcast. It is a world-renowned podcast. It is genuinely hitting the top 10, top 100 on various different podcast links. If you like Eve Echoes, which considering you're watching this video, I kind of have to assume you do, I strongly recommend clicking the link in the description down below to take you through to their Buzzsprout so you can listen and enjoy. Genuinely, these guys deserve even more attention than they're already getting, and not just because I featured for about 3 hours talking my nose off this morning, but also there's just a ton of really cool content there, some really great discussions going on about the state of the game, well worth your time. And this week's developer Q&A, oh boy, it looks like NetEase are kind of trying to make up for last week not having one. They have given us a whopping 11 questions. Now, the developer Q&A is a series every single week, with the occasional exception, like last week, where the developers take a series of questions posed by you, the community, they respond to those questions and post those responses as the dev Q&A on the official Facebook page, Twitter account, Discord, and somewhere in-game as well. Now, you may be asking, Benzie, if this is so easy to read and so all over the place, why do you do a video on this each week? Well, because the answers are usually only half the actual story. By linking it in with previous developer Q&As or Discord AMAs, roundtable videos, or just conversations that I've had with the developers, I hope I can add some extra insight. Anyway, with all of that said and done, if you have a question, make sure you go to the description, click the link there, ask the developers your question. You could win a month of Basic Omega. With all that said and done though, 11 questions, crikey, let's jump straight in. And I'm also aware this is kind of backwards, so actually no, let's go right the way through to the end. And we'll start at the end of this, which I think is the first when you're looking at the actual dev Q&A if it gets posted. So, question number 1 then. Frigates are such great ships. I love to experiment with different fittings, and they're great fun to fly. And with trained nanocores or implants and rigs, a few billions of ISK investment makes them more expensive than some battleships. And very effective. But a tier 9 battleship that's worth a third of optimized frigates can make much more ISK in much less time when doing anomalies. Creating new PvE content just for small ships would be complicated. Disagree. I understand this. Give us something different instead. A dueling arena where we can risk our ships to earn or lose the ISK or ships of our opponents in duels, or very small-scale fleet battles, 3v3, all in, winner takes all. That'd be a lot of fun, glory, and we can earn some ISK or stuff for modules, cores, and implants. Now, I think this is a cool idea. I kind of disagree that what frigates and that need is more PvP content that's going to result in longer queue times, etc. I do really just wish they would give us something similar to Abyssal Dead Spaces from EVE Online, something that is exclusive to smaller ships. It doesn't have to earn the same amount of ISK. No one really is asking for a Tech 10 frigate to be able to earn the same amount of ISK per hour as a Tech 10 battleship. Give us a kind of dormant realm scenario, something we can jump into that battleship pilots can't, so that it is exclusive content fun for frigates. The worst thing about smaller ships is that, yeah, of course, you can do Tech 10 anomalies in a frigate, you can do Tech 7 anomalies in a frigate, but it always feels like, ugh, why am I doing this? It would just make so much more sense for me to do this in a battleship, and people eventually give in on that. I want something where I have no reason to give in, where pushing my frigate to the limit is the best way of doing it. That's all people are asking for. It doesn't have to be as lucrative as battleship content. Just maybe give us the option to get some implants using frigates, destroyers, and cruisers. Give us something that we can do that battleships can't. That's what I'm asking here, at least. Now, Melos says gameplay for small and medium-sized ships will be added in the future. The gameplay will be optimized, and in some circumstances, smaller ships would have more advantages. Now, on one hand, this looks really good, right? Yeah, they're going to be adding small and medium-sized ships gameplay. Sounds awesome, right? Except for those 3 words, in the future. Remember, the Yanjung were going to be added in the future. The exploration hacking minigame was going to be added in the future. These are all things that just have not surfaced. So when NetEase say in the future, I kind of take that to mean as an eventually, maybe, perhaps never. We haven't actually decided yet, but we kind of want to give you an answer that keeps you off our backs for the time being. And that's going to be a running theme for the next few questions, I'm afraid. Ultimately, the one really worrying thing about this is that despite me having laid this out with exact numbers to Melos, apparently they still don't get it. Gameplay will be optimized, and in some circumstances, smaller ships would have more advantages. Due to how EVE Echoes is balanced, the fact that battleships in PvE can handle frigates and everything smaller, there is no situation where if you put a frigate and a battleship together in PvE, that the frigate has any form of advantage. The battleship has so much more tank that it doesn't matter that it can't speed tank, it does more DPS, it just utterly excels, and the fact that you can take a Vindicator in with webs, oh look, now I can do all of that DPS to every fast-moving frigate around me. If you have battleships and frigates in the same PvE scenario, the battleships are always going to do better. The reason I specify PvE is because some smart ass always comes at me with, oh well, frigates can tackle. Yeah, wow, frigates can tackle. How does that help in any form of engaging gameplay other than fleet fights? And even then you need 3 frigates, and if everyone else is in battleships, you're pretty much fine. Heck, one cruiser interdictor can do the job of that pretty well as well. I don't know. I think, yes, we definitely need small and medium-sized ship content. It needs to be something that battleships cannot do. I am perplexed as to why 3 years into the game, we are still going, oh, but the battleship pilots need something too. No, they don't. They have the entirety of New Eden at their disposal. Giving something to just the small ships will benefit new players, which will help keep them around for longer. It gives the older players who don't want to be flying slow-ass battleships something else to do, and back off with the whole Macariel thing. Yes, I know the Macariel's quite fast for a battleship. It's still not a frigate, a destroyer, or a cruiser, so go away with that logic. Give me something that I can do in a frigate, or a destroyer, or a cruiser that I cannot do in a battleship, and I will be happy. Something meaningful, something challenging, something fun, something that's not just, oh, you can tackle, thanks, Delira. Moving on to question number 2, because there's 11 of these to go through, remember? I think it would be cool to add some new emotions, or emoticons, in chat that would be understandable. And when are you going to fix chat bags? Fix chat box. I think someone's using text to speak here. Speech to text, sorry. Fix chat bags. Anyway, thank you for your feedback, but there are no plans to add chat emoticons for the time being. I don't think there need to be. I think that's such a thing that we don't need to be spending time developing right now. There are tons in-game already. They are good enough for the most part. Screw, we don't need more. We don't need more. The optimization of the chat system is a continuous job. Some bugs might be related to the device and network conditions. True story. Please submit the specific problem in the device info, network conditions, and other related information to the Discord bug reports channel or the in-game customer service. Specialized staff would be assigned to investigate the problem. Basically, chat is pretty much bug-free at this point. If there are issues going on, it is probably your device is what they're saying. So yeah, give them feedback and they can fix that. There's going to be ongoing fixes to chat because obviously it's one of the central systems to the game. No need for new emoticons just yet. There are plenty of them in game, and to be fair, not many people use them anyway. Moving on to question number 3. The fuel usage of individual modules for ships or structures is clearly labelled. However, when trying to determine the continuous usage of fuel at a Capsuleer outpost, there is remarkably little information to gauge or calculate fuel consumption of the station or attached modules. Can you include some kind of tooltip or something that shows fuel usage and total fuel available in gigajoules at a given station? Fuel management can be better served with a simple bit of data. Thank you. Melos says, this suggestion will be considered and we are looking for possible methods to display fuel consumption. You already display fuel consumption in the game. You can kind of just grab a calculator. Like, with risk of sounding like 2018 Blizzard, God burn them. Do you guys not have calculators? Like, I get it that sometimes coming out of the app to open up a calculator on your phone can be problematic, but surely you have an actual desk calculator somewhere? Or most modern phones, you can actually overlay a calculator over your current screen. Most Android and iOS phones these days can do that, so give that a look into as well. Or if all else fails, pen and paper. Like, don't ask the game to just do everything for you. I agree that seeing the total fuel available in gigajoules at a given station would be useful so you can see when you're running low on actual gigajoules, because obviously different fuels have different types, but things like how long it's going to take for it to go away, do you really need the game to give you all of this information? Are you really so incapable of just picking up a standard desk calculator or just swiping out of the app temporarily to, put that into your phone calculator? It's not a difficult calculation is my point. point, and I really don't think we need to be spending development time on that. I think adding the amount of total fuel available in gigajoules, probably useful, just put it next to the fuel tank. Fuel tank, 3,000 gigajoules available, yeah, cool. As for the actual countdown and stuff, no. Question number 4. Please Google survivorship bias. You only see battleships because you only support battleships. EVE is supposed to have valid content for all hulls and playstyles. You have effectively deleted everything but battleships, and new players have been made useless. Why can't you understand this is not good? Thank you, someone else is finally saying it directly to the devs. Survivorship bias is something I've been talking about a lot recently. The main example of this is, imagine aircraft going off to a fight. When the aircraft land, you look at where the bullet holes are and you go, right, well, that's where we need to put armor. It sounds like a good point, right? Until you realize that there's a whole load of aircraft that didn't return because they were hit in other places. You can see that, these aircraft were hit in these positions and survived, but you can't see where the other ones were hit and destroyed. That should be the information you're looking at. In this case, basically, yeah, EVE Echoes, the devs are sitting there going, well, everyone's flying battleships, so we need more battleship content, right? Without realizing that everyone's flying battleships because they're the only thing with content. Like, if you live in an American suburb, you tend to drive everywhere, right? Because there aren't good bus and tram links. So it's not that no one's using the tram because they would rather drive, it's that you can only drive. It's the only real option you have. That's what we're getting at here. And absolutely, they have deleted everything but battleships, with the exception of PvP, but even then, PvP is still very much battleship-centric in anything CTA or higher. You need a couple of frigates and destroyers, and that's pretty much it. And yeah, adding content for small ships means that newer pilots have something to engage with. This is not a zero-sum game. We're not saying take away battleship content, but battleship pilots aren't complaining that they've got nothing to do. All the small ships are complaining of that exact thing. And if you're a new player, having something new and exciting to actually engage you in the game and keep you sticking around means you're going to stay with the game longer, you're going to pay more to NetEase, and you're actually going to survive until Tech 10, where you can be useful with your alliance and be part of the game. Like, this is not a difficult point, is it? Like, seriously, giving something that affects both new players and existing older players by using smaller ships is really, really good. And Melos says, gameplay for small and medium ships will be added. In the future, the gameplay will be optimized, and in some circumstances, smaller ships would have more advantages. Exactly copy-paste of what we had before, so the exact same copy-paste answer from what we had before. In the future means that this is a meaningless point. There's no time constraint on this. So many things they've said in the future have just not happened, and the fact that smaller ships would have more advantages in situations when battleships exist just doesn't work. Like, look, if you can take 4 battleships into a dormant realm, why would you take 4 frigates? You're never going to compete. If you can do a tier 10 anomaly in a battleship, or you can do it in a frigate, the battleship just does it faster. Therefore, even if you can do it in a frigate, it's just not fun to do it in a frigate. You sit there and kind of go, yeah, I just feel like I should be in a battleship. And that's the small ship experience. We want something that we can do that battleships can't. It doesn't have to be as lucrative as battleships. It just needs to be something that we're not sitting there going, why am I doing this in a frigate and not a battleship? Because that's just not fun. Can we get some events for cruiser or smaller ships? All events are for battleships and bigger ships. Yeah, like Verge of Silence, the event that was totally designed around solo gameplay, right? So, gameplay for small and medium-sized ships will be added. In the future, the gameplay will be optimized, and in some circumstances, smaller ships would have more advantages. Oh, Melos. Oh, Melos, oh, Melos, oh, Melos. What is going on here? 3 copy-paste answers, none of which are at all meaningful. In the future means nothing. If you can do it in battleships, you can do it better than you can. If you can do it in battleships and frigates, then you're always going to be able to do it better in a battleship than you could a frigate, with the exception of tackling, Delira. Moving on to question number 6 now? Question number 6. Do you plan to develop drones more and make it equal with other types of weapons? For example, C-type, A-type, X-type for drones. Moreover, at times speaking, bombarding implant becomes the most useless one for carriers and drone boat pilots because you have to recall the drones in the drone bay to be reactivated. Do you plan to balance this in the near future? All other implants can be activated immediately without any penalties. Bullshit. Sorry, that is not true. Other implants can be activated immediately without any penalties. Barrage implant has a penalty to your full-off range. Various, like the laser one has a penalty to your capacitor usage. There are lots of... They all have penalties. They all have penalties. The drone one's penalty is that the stuff has to come back, which means if you want to snipe with standard drones, yeah, the drones have to take a long time to come back to you. That's the point. Like, if you want to snipe with drones and you're using, like, sentry drones, you're parked on them. They come back almost instantly. They do massive damage when you use the barrage implant. If you want to use your drones as brawlers, then your battleship should probably be a brawler in order to reduce the time that it takes for them to get back to your ship. This is not a difficult concept, people, is it? Is this a difficult concept? I don't think it's a difficult concept. As for drones being weak, yeah, I do kind of agree we should have C-type, A-type, and X-type for drones. I think we should definitely have C-type for drone damage amplifiers. I still don't get why we don't. That said, I don't think drones need to be able to do equal DPS to every other weapon system out there. The whole point of drones is that versatility. You can go full range, you can go brawling, you can swap your weapon type damage, which no other weapon can do other than missiles with a leveled up implant that doesn't really do much else comparatively to like the bombard implant doing a serious DPS boost. Ultimately, drones are behind. There's no two ways about it. They are behind, but I don't think they are as far behind as people make out. They should always be a little bit behind simply because of the fact that they are so versatile. They are also the only weapon system that you can swap between large, medium, and small if you're in a battleship. So if you decide that your large drones aren't hitting a frigate, you can swap down to small drones and away you go. Cannot do that with any other ship. My Maelstrom cannot swap its large autocannons for small autocannons. That just doesn't happen in the middle of a battlefield. Ultimately, I would hate for us to be pushing right back to a drone meta in PvP, especially since the anti-drone pulse bombs that they promised in the future still aren't here, once again proving that in the future is such a meaningless suggestion. Melos says, we've noticed that drones are relatively weak and we plan to release stronger drone blueprints through some new gameplays. The recall feature is not as good as we expected and we'll consider adjusting this in the future. Like, it's still a lot better than it used to be. Am I the only one who remembers at launch when you hit recall drones and it took about 2.5 minutes for them to get back? They just didn't listen to you. So it has been sort of fixed. It's, you know, it's better than it used to be. Again, it's part of the situation. Recalling drones from range is always going to take some time. If you're on a rattlesnake brawling, on the other hand, and you happen to drop some drones, like, you know, in brawling range, you can recall them really quickly. It doesn't take long at all, like 3 seconds. It's what I do with my rattlesnake. I know these things. So ultimately, I don't think that that is a problem. I don't think the reactivation and the pulling, the recall feature is a big problem. I do think that the DPS is lagging a bit too far behind. I think if you're going to add new drone blueprints, though, in order to not just completely negate the LP store, perhaps the new drone blueprints should consume the faction drones. Like, if you want to build a C-type Berserker, for example, you have to consume a Republic Fleet Berserker in order to do so. That would keep the LP store relevant, whilst also allowing people to go up to these newer, more expensive, better drones. To me, that seems balanced. I don't know, maybe that's just me. Question number 7. Would it be possible to add 1 or 2 custom orbit distances to the menu that pops up when you tap on a ship you're in combat with? I'm terrible with the slide bar. When I'm using medium or large short-range turrets, I have to set the orbit higher for frigates and destroyers, then lower for bigger ships to get better use of the weapons. Oh boy, please play the game for me, asks this player. No, I massively disagree with this. One, because it clutters up the UI more than it already is. The guys were actually discussing this on the Echoes of New Eden podcast this morning, and I wholeheartedly agree with that. I think adding more to the UI that just clutters it up is not a good idea. If you are in PvE, you only really need 1 orbit. If you're struggling to hit ships, then slow down. You can use the engine to slow down. You can approach so that you completely get rid of angular velocity. You can orbit a different ship to create angular velocity. There are ways around this. Or you could just get better at the slide bar. Like, forgive me, I don't want to be a personal attack on this one, but can you imagine going into Call of Duty multiplayer and saying, I'm terrible with the sniper rifle, please can you buff it so that it just is better for me to use. That's not how this works. You don't buff a game because your skill isn't good enough. Like, I'm sorry, I'm genuinely sorry, I don't mean this as a personal attack, but you openly admit that your skill is not good enough for the slide bar. Work on that. Don't get the game to fix it for you. Learn to handle that. I've played Eve Echoes on small screen devices, I've played it on large screen devices. Yes, my Asus ROG Phone 3 has a huge screen, so it's nice and easy to micromanage those distances. For, like, something like a smaller Samsung Galaxy 9 like my wife has, which I've played on, yeah, it's a lot more fiddly, but you just practice. It's so niche. It is so niche. You can just approach. You can just orbit a different target. You can slow your ship down or even just stop it temporarily by tapping the engine if dragging the bar on the engine is also too fiddly for you. Asking the developers to change how the game works because you are terrible with a feature is awful game design. Awful game design. Like, it makes me want to vomit. It is that bad of game design. Never, ever design a game around just getting the people who can't engage with something, who haven't figured out how to do it, to just get the game to do it for them. No. No, no, no. No. Your suggestion will be considered. We will discuss the possibility of this with our UI designers. Please no, UI is already incredibly cluttered. We do not need this. We need fixes to the UI, not more meaningless crap stapled on because people cannot learn how to use the slide bar. Come on. Come on. Question 8. Will the fittings menu be updated to help carriers switch fit quickly? Currently, if you swap fits using the pre-saved fits, it only loads 3 fighters. This suggestion will be considered and UI optimization is required. Now, yeah, I get that this is annoying. I get that if you are in a fitting menu and you swap your fits, that, yeah, it might be annoying that it only does. How hard is it just to add the other ones in, though? Like, for crying out loud. I swear some people just want this game to do everything for them. Like, it's 2 extra taps. How often are you changing your fitting on a ship like this? I get that it is a bug. It's a bug that does need optimizing. But again, game design resource man hours are valuable. They are valuable, and if we're going to be going back and just fixing every little meaningless bullcrap because someone can't be bothered to do 2 extra taps on their big old carrier, like, I kind of lose a little bit of sympathy. I lose a little bit of sympathy on that. Yes, I get that it's frustrating, but, like, bigger fish to fry. Question number 9. Whew, we're still going, making good time here. I think it's safe to say faction wargames are at a bad state. Yeah. Almost no one's playing, resulting in 5 to 10 minute plus matchmaking. Should we expect a rework to faction wargames soon? Maybe something similar to EVE Online, where LP is earnable without a second party presence. I mean, an instance of it is already in the game in the form of the unsafe systems of Verge Silence. Yeah, we were talking about this on Echoes of New Eden as well. Faction warfare complexes. In EVE Online, faction wargames does not exist, this instanced thing that you queue up for and wait. If you go to the border of Amar and Minmatar space into Lowsec there, or if you go to the Caldari Galente border, Lowsec there, you find these plexes. They're like arenas. If you park your ship in that arena, you start earning points, loyalty points. The longer you're parked there, the more points you earn. Really easy concept, right? These plexes come in 4 sizes: novice, small, medium, large. Large can take any ship type, medium can take anything up to battlecruiser. Small can take frigates and destroyer, novice takes only frigates. Now, when you scan into these, you can see that there are ships there, you cannot see what they are. You have to warp in, and it's always a warp in at 0, like an acceleration gate, and then you fight with whoever's in there. And so if you jump into a novice thing, and there's someone sitting in a worm, you jump in, you blast them off in whatever, then you sit in there, earning the loyalty points instead. Not only does this add much needed consumption to the game, it gets players actually moving through Lowsec, which is freaking dead at the moment and gives people who want to be in Lowsec something to do. It's a system that affects all player types, because if you want to jump into a large faction warfare complex, then you can do so in a battleship. You can park a Vindicator in there. If you don't want to risk that and you want to fly frigates, you can guarantee frigate versus frigate warfare in a novice plex. In fact, in EVE Online, there is an entire book every year. The frigate pilots yearbook, which goes over pretty much just this, learning how to do this. And it's just frigate versus frigate PvP, and it's so much fun! So much fun. And it's so much better than Faction Wargames has ever been. It doesn't require queuing up, and it rewards people for roaming and using those quieter systems in low-sec. It fixes so many problems, but nope. For the time being, gameplay and gameplay trials is still the main application of LP, but we will try to introduce contents like Corporation Battle in the future. Hey, we've got a problem. Here's an easy way to fix it. Awesome, say NetEase. We're going to try something else. Corporation battles? Why do you want an arena'd instance corporation battle? Now there's even less reason to go to war because you can just queue up and what are you doing? What is going on here? We already have so few reasons to go to war in EVE Echoes. Now they want to take those wars and put it in an instance. God help us. Strip fittings is a very helpful option, but if devs add an option where we can manually select strip-only modules with current strip fittings option, which include rigs and modules, it'll be more helpful because most of us, we only change modules, not rigs, and this option makes it more easier. We will consider including this to our development plan, but the priority wouldn't be high. Good, I'm glad it wouldn't be high, because it's already in the game! If you hit strip ship fittings right now, it does not take the rigs off! Oh, man! Some of these questions, I swear. Like, have you even tried using the thing that you're complaining about? It doesn't strip the rigs off. It doesn't. It doesn't. I use this all the time. I've just literally this morning used it on my Stabber 2 to swap between my auto cannon fit and my straight cannon fit. What are you going on about? And the fact that the devs don't just turn around and go, well, why are you asking for this? That's already how it works, is a sad indictment. Finally then, question number 9. With the addition of modified ships, will they be added to the ship tree so we can compare them to the standard ships? I think there's more than just the modified ships need adding here. We need to evaluate the display situation in the ship tree, says Melos. What the hell is there to evaluate? Just add the ships, it's not difficult. We'll consider including this to our development plan, but the priority wouldn't be very high. You know what's messed up? The game launched with the Mammoth, the Wreath, and the Wreath 2 in it, and none of those feature in the Minmatar ship tree. Same with the Tyra, the Badger 2, and the Badger. Those don't feature in the Caldari ship tree, and so on and so forth for all of the others. Since the game launched, those ships have not been shown in the ship tree. Interestingly enough, freighters are not shown in the ship tree. If you want to look up the Fenrir, it's not in the ship tree. If you want to look up the Nomad, though, which is the jump freighter, yeah, that one's in the ship tree. Why? Why is this the case? And why is this so difficult? Like, look, you accidentally added the Enforcer prototype to the Caldari ship tree. How hard is it just to add the ship tree stuff together? Like, what, is there 4 people working on this game right now? No, I know the team's a lot bigger than that, so what's going on here? Just add the shit to the ship tree. It's not difficult. This is something that should have been done when those ships were first added at launch. There's no reason they're not in the ship tree, and it's just frankly embarrassing that the Nomad is in the ship tree, but the Fenrir isn't. You need the Fenrir to Why? Why do you need to evaluate the display situation? You've got the branches, you've got the situations, just add another little branch like you did for Capitals. If you could do it for Capitals, why can't you do it for the Industrials? Oh, man. I swear these dev Q&As are going to kill me one day. I love doing these, they're great fun, there's a lot of really cool information, but sometimes, even though I have the utmost respect for Melos, he's a great guy, he's passionate about the game, he's got a lot of really cool ideas, just some of these answers, man, it's just, what's going on? What is actually going on here? What are the dev team doing? What are they thinking? And, it makes me so angry. It really makes me so angry, and I try to keep my temper in check on that. It's not easy. I do apologise for swearing. I know I should be better than that, but I just get angry. I get angry and frustrated because I know what this game could be. I know how fantastic this game is, and it just feels like that is being squandered, and just the potential is there, and it's right there. These developers have a roadmap. They literally can look at EVE Online and say, well, CCP did this, and then this is what happened. And for some reason, they just ignore that. They just ignore the fact that they have the answers written down. And, like, yeah, we could add faction warfare that would fix so much to the game, but instead of doing that, we're going to add a corporation battle that literally no one is asking for and would damage the warfare situation in Echoes even further. Anyway, those are my thoughts and opinions. I'm going to end this one before I, before I start cracking open the alcohol at what is like 10 o'clock in the morning for me now. I've been up since 5. I've been talking all things Eve Echoes for literally the last 5 hours now. It's been awesome. I hope you've enjoyed this dev Q&A. Let me know your thoughts and opinions in the comment section down below. Again, check out Echoes of New Eden, the podcast. The link is in the description down below. Go click that. Go listen. Have a great time. Otherwise, folks, thank you as always for supporting my channel. Happy sailing and see you in New Eden!